everyone, I'm Will Brown and welcome to the WP Quickies series, bite-sized WordPress tips and tricks in 30 minutes or less. In this lunchtime WP Quickies, I'm going to be talking about when to use categories and tags. So it's going back to the basics again, a little bit of WordPress basics again. So when you use categories and tags, I'm going to be talking about them throughout this. Thanks for taking your time to join me in this lockdown Sydney afternoon. Welcome to those overseas and to those watching on replay. Drop your name and where you're from in the comments and I'll say a quick hi to you. And while I'm doing that, you can click on subscribe and ding that bell on YouTube or on LinkedIn. You can connect with me or on Facebook as well. You can give me a big thumbs up for that. See who we've got in here today. We have Paul Luxford. Hey to you. Future Shot from Marrickville. Mr. Meowpuss. Cass & Co. and Addison. We have Alan Kessler for Annandale, Seven Circle Designs from Dallas, and Joey J tuning in from Singapore. We've got Andrew as well from the Inner West in Sydney. Thank you very much, guys, for joining me this afternoon. Great that we can have you with us on this live stream, and quite a lot of our usual WP Quickies viewers there. Thanks very much for your following. We have a Facebook user. We've got Danny Haskey from Hillsdale as well. Thank you very much, Danny, for joining us today. If you are on Facebook, we have a new Facebook group. I'll make it a little bit bigger so you can see. Bing, there we go. So it's called WordPress Sydney Meetup. It's a new group. So we did use a page for quite a while, but we've moved over to this group. So you can find that just by searching for that on Facebook. But if you are watching this live in the Facebook group, remember to visit the streamyard.com/Facebook, and that just links your Facebook account up with the StreamYard so that I can recognize who you are in the comments. I think Danny has done that. Maybe it's not Danny, we've got a Facebook user here. So if you've said hi from the Central Coast, maybe you can visit streamyard.com/Facebook, and that'll link your name and your avatar in there as well. So hi, Greg. And hi to the Maze from Sydney, doing battle with the bush turkey. Dear. And on top of IT, greetings, Will. Greetings to you as well. So thank you so much for joining in. Let's jump into this as well. I've got another one. John. Hey, John from Cays Beach. And hello to you and hello to everyone as well. So if you are wondering about all the links, so all the links from these WP Quickie shows, what I do is I compile them at the end of this broadcast, and then I put them underneath the video, wherever you're watching, as a comment below. So all the links for this will be available afterwards, after the show, and maybe later on today. Give me half an hour or an hour to post those for you. And if you're looking to ask a question, just drop it in the comments below. And I'll spin round to them when I can during the talk or afterwards. So if you've got any questions on those, feel free just to ask. There's no silly questions at all. So everyone's at different levels from WordPress. We've got beginners, we've got first timers, we've got experts, we've got everyone in between. So there's no silly questions. Please ask. Feel free to ask. I've got another Facebook user from Wollongong. Yay! Thank you very much. We got 20 viewers today. Awesome. Okay, so let's get stuck into the talk today. So categories and tags. Now, they've been around for a long time. In fact, when WordPress was first released around about 2002, they were in the core WordPress app all the way back then. And they do play a significant role in organizing content for human consumption and for SEO as well. And we're going to touch on a little bit about those particular topics today. Now, you can often find sidebar widgets on blog websites that allow you to view content by category or by tag to kind of drill down deeper into specific content that you're searching for. Now, categories and tags are the two primary ways that WordPress groups its content. So they're the default kind of taxonomies for WordPress when you install a new WordPress website. So let's have a closer look at the WordPress categories and tags. Okay, let's start. I use the word taxonomy, and a lot of people don't know exactly what that means. They might not have come across it before, or they may have come across that word in a different context, things like for medicine or for biology, things like that. Now, taxonomy is basically the practice of categorizing or classifying something. And I'll drop, I mean, if you really want, I don't know how many people this, but there's a link to Wikipedia anyway to see what a taxonomy is. But it's basically defined as an orderly classification, and that kind of indicates there's some sort of hierarchy or structure that's inherent to that. Now, a taxonomy in WordPress is a way of grouping together content based on some selective number of relationships, and by default, a standard post is going to have taxonomy types, category, and tags. So let's delve into the categories and tags. Okay, so what are categories in WordPress? Now, categories are the most general method of grouping content in WordPress, allowing you to kind of broadly group post topics that have something in common. Now, categories themselves are hierarchical, which means that you can have subcategories. So you can have a broad classification of a category at the top, and you can have subcategories underneath. You get kind of more specialized the further down you go. Now, WordPress posts can belong to many categories at the same time. However, it's best practice to assign maybe no more than 2 categories to one single post. Now, if you find yourself assigning 3 or more categories to one post, then it's likely your top level categories are not broad enough to encompass the high level nature of your blog post. And I've seen that happen quite a lot of times in websites where you go into a post, if I'm doing a website audit, you'll have a look at some posts and they've maybe got 4 or 5 categories assigned to those. So if that happens to you, if you're finding you have to check 4 or 5 different categories, then maybe you have to review your categories and bump them up to like a higher level so you encompass that more high level broad topic. So that's my best practice tip for categories is not really selecting any more than maybe 2, maybe 3 at a push. But again, I think 3 you're probably getting into a little bit more specific. I need to kind of go broad, go wide again for those. Okay, so how to edit categories on your WordPress website, how to add them. To go to them, you go to the navigate to posts and then categories. I'll make that a little bit bigger. There we go. And every category should have a name, a slug, and the slug is the URL, what they call permalink part of the category for WordPress. It should have an indication of hierarchy as well, and it should have a description there. So we can see here, and we've got the categories edit open here. So you can add a new category on the left-hand side, give it a name. You don't have to give it a slug. So the slug is the URL friendly version that will go to when you're searching by categories in WordPress. You don't need to give it a specific slug. WordPress will create one for you based on what you enter into the name. So it basically removes stop words like and, to, and it will remove spaces and it'll put hyphens in between. So WordPress will automatically create a unique slug for you, but you can put in anything you like there as well. And then you can select a parent category. There's a drop-down link from there, and it will list all the current categories, and you can make that a subcategory of whatever there, and a description as well at the bottom. And then you click a submit category or create category, and it will add it to that list on the right-hand side there. And you can see I've got a few, a couple of categories in there. So I've got a top-level one called books, and you can see I've not put a description in there, but it does have a slug called books, and it's got 2 posts associated with it. So the count column tells you how many posts are associated with that. And I've created a subcategory called sci-fi. So sci-fi within books, so I get a little bit more specialized. Books is obviously very, very broad, and then special kind of going down a little bit more specific is sci-fi. And I've got a description for there, and we'll cover that in a little bit more detail in a second. There's a quick question here from Andrew. Andrew asks, can you have one category and then multiple subcategories or still limited to 2? No, you can have lots of subcategories, and in this particular instance, you probably would. So you probably have something like books, then you probably go down one level into maybe fiction, non-fiction, autobiography, and then under those, then you maybe have things like sci-fi, romance, astronomy, wildlife, and anything you want, probably have quite. So maybe like your broad categories, you probably maybe have 5, 6, 7, maybe even 10 broad categories at the top, then drop down one level to be a little bit more specific, and then drop down again to a third level, and that's where you're getting really specific. I wouldn't go too much in hierarchy, because then you're starting to get a little bit confusing for not only users, but also for Google as well when it's trying to navigate through your website. So maybe stick to like a 3, maybe possibly 4 tier hierarchy with categories. But there are no limits. If you're looking for hard limits, there's no hard limits to the number of subcategories and categories that you can actually define within WordPress. So that's a great question. Thank you, Andrew. Okay, let's go next. So how do you add posts? Well, how do you add categories? We can add them here. So this is the main place that you go to create all your categories or to edit them afterwards to add descriptions. But if you're actually adding them to a post, I'll make it a little bit bigger. There we go. So within your WordPress block editor, on the right-hand side where you've got the settings for the post and settings for your blocks, click on post, and then you'll see a categories drop-down menu there. So expand that. It might take a few seconds because this is done with Ajax. It's done in the background. So sometimes when you open up a post straight away, sometimes your categories and your tags are kind of blank. And then it takes a few seconds for it to ask the server, give us all your categories and tags, and then it populates those little widgets. So if you see it blank initially when you open your WordPress edit, that's fine. Give it a few seconds, go back, and it'll be populated there. And we can see here that we've got the categories here, books and sci-fi. That was the example that we had there. But you can also create new categories here. And so it gives you a category name, and it asks you if you want to make that apparent. Now, there's no slug, there's no description, so it's just a really quick way. So if you're editing a post and you think, oh, actually, I need to create a new category for this, you can do that within here and then go back to the previous slide and then add in the description and maybe tweak the slug as well if that's something you want. So that's how to add your posts to WordPress. I've got a quick question here from Danny. Danny asks, how does a description display on the site? Great question. I will show you that in a second, in a couple of slides time, Danny. So have a look for that. Default post category. So for WordPress posts, a WordPress post must belong to at least one category. And you'll see that new WordPress websites, when you create a new WordPress website, and if you go into your categories section, you'll see that there's a category called uncategorized with a Z, because this is American, and that's created for you. So all WordPress posts are assigned to this category until you change that. Now you should go and rename default category to something you're going to use on your website. And also you need to go to your default post category settings, and you'll find that here. And this is at settings. So in the WordPress dashboard, go to settings and then writing, and you'll find that this has a default post category. Now, if you visit that in a brand new WordPress website, that's going to be set to uncategorized because that's the only one category that's created. But once you rename the uncategorized default category to something that you're going to use in your WordPress website, that's going to be the default one. But you can change that. So you can change that here, go into the settings and change it to whatever you like. So if you are blogging a lot, maybe you're blogging, or maybe you've got a security blog, and the majority of your blogs you're going to be typing is going to lie under the security category, then you can set that one as your default, and then you don't need to change it every time you're typing your security blog posts out. So that's how to change the default post category. And we're going to jump into tags now. So what are tags in WordPress? Tags, they allow you to assign specific identifiable keywords to a particular blog post that you are writing. So maybe pick 3 or 4 keywords that together specifically identify the topic of your post. Now, where categories are used for kind of a broad classification of your topic, tags are meant to get into the specifics. So you can and you should assign multiple, maybe just enough, but multiple keywords to allow searches to return this specific result. So if someone is looking for a really specific blog post, these tags are the way that they're going to be able to grab at them visually and from navigation point of view. Now, unlike categories, tags have no hierarchy. They are all flat, so you cannot create a sub tag. So here's an example. If I was writing an article about maybe Australia's 2021 Olympic Games gold medalist, I may include the tags Olympic Games. I may include tags 2021 Olympic Games. I would include the tag Australia, include the tag gold medal, and include the tag maybe Jessica Fox as well. So that's really, really narrowing in. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's six tags examples. And that's going to allow somebody, if they're seeing that on the website, if they're typing the keywords, because the WordPress website, when it's doing its search, it's going to look at the title, it's going to look at the content, it's going to look at the tags as well. And Google will look at the tags as well for that. And it's going to allow them to really, really specify. I mean, if you saw some of these tags, Olympic Games, 2021 Olympic Games, Australia, gold medal, Jessica Fox, you kind of know what that article is going to be about. And that's what the tags is really meant for. It's meant to be specific keywords that really specify exactly what that main article is about. Okay, so to edit tags, in WordPress, it's kind of similar to the categories. So you're going to go to your dashboard, you're going to go to your posts and then tags for there. And you're going to be able to see all the existing tags. Now, by default, I think WordPress, I actually don't know. I think WordPress creates a default tag. It might not. But here I've got some examples. I've got 3 examples here for that, and it follows the same structure as a category. So every tag should have a name. It should have a slug, so that's a URL that identifies it, a description, and there's no hierarchy. So you can't create subtags, so there's no kind of parent child-parent relationship from there. And again, you got a count that tells you the number of posts that you've got assigned to that particular tag. So if you want to know, and you click on that count number and it'll open up another window and it'll show you all the posts related to that tag, and that's similar to the category as well. So it's really handy to figure out what you've tagged previously. So there's some examples there. And when you are adding tags in WordPress, it's very, very similar to the category. As you can see here, you're in your block editor, you click on the post, and that's in the right-hand side settings. You scroll down to tags. Again, it doesn't populate, so a little bit dissimilar to the categories. So it gives you this blank field called add new tag. But as soon as you start typing a tag in, if it finds one with a similar starting keywords, starting letters, it will kind of drop that down for you as a hint as well, which is quite handy. So if you've already got something identified, you start typing in the first few letters, WordPress is kind of going to give you a hint to say, is it this one? And you can just click on that and add it to the tag. And tags are separated by commas, so you can type them all in, type a comma, or press the enter key, and it'll add that as a tag for those. So that's quite handy. So often get asked, is there a limit to the number of tags? So there is no limit at all to the number of tags that you can add to a post. You can add 1,000 tags if you want. However, I wouldn't recommend that. So the purpose of tags, again, is to help link related posts together. It's meant to specify kind of what that content, what that post is about. So think of them maybe like as an index section of a book. So each tag is like a keyword in that index, and that's how you use tags. Let's see, we've got a couple of questions for this. Can you delete tags? Yes, you can delete tags. You can delete categories. It does not delete the post. It just removes them from the post from there. And once removed, can you delete tags once they're removed from the post? Yes, yes. Or you can actually remove them while they're linked to the post. And it'll just remove that association with that post. Now, actually, that's a good question. So if you are deleting categories, if you are deleting tags, be aware that tags and categories come with an archive. So they come with a URL, that slug URL that you can visit or visitors can visit, and it will show you all the posts in that tag or all the posts in that category. If you are deleting a category, if you are deleting a tag, like zapping it completely, and you have an existing website, make sure that you do a 301 redirect for that, so that you're not losing any of that SEO juice. So if you've had a books category for a couple of years and you've got like hundreds of posts in there, if you delete that books and maybe or if you delete it or rename it to something like manuals or manuscripts, then from a Google point of view, it's going to lose all that SEO juice for that. So make sure you do a redirect for that. And you can do a redirect in Yoast SEO plugin. You can do a redirect in SEO Press plugin, which is what I use. Or you can use a plugin called Peter's Login Redirect, which has just recently been renamed to something. I think it's called Link WP or something, but you'll find that anyway. There's several redirection posts and plugins that you can use for WordPress. That's a great question. So yes, you can delete them, but make sure you don't lose all your SEO juice. Okay, next topic is so moving on to SEO. That's a good segue for that. So what's better for SEO, categories or tags? Basically, the short answer is there's no advantage of using SEO, categories or tags for SEO. So categories and tags, they both have different purposes. So there's no one way, there's no which one is better from an SEO point of view, because they both do different things for that. Now, you must have at least one category per post, but you don't have to use any tags at all if you don't want to. However, I do recommend using both appropriately because it helps visitors navigate through your site and it helps Google index for SEO as well. Okay, duplicate tags and categories. So try and avoid creating a tag that matches an existing category exactly. So for example, if you have a category called stormtroopers, you shouldn't have a tag called stormtroopers because that's going to create duplicate content from a SEO point of view. And similarly, you should stick with either single or plurals for categories and tags. So don't have stormtrooper and stormtroopers as two different tags, just stick with one. So if your writing style, when you're writing a blog article, if your style of writing normally favors more plural stuff, you're talking a lot like lots of stormtroopers and lots of Jedis all the time, then pick that and use those as tags with the plural. Otherwise, if your style of writing is more singular, stick to like the single. So don't mix and match. So we don't want to see categories that are, stormtroopers, stormtrooper, or sharks, or lasers, and similar with tags. Stick to one or the other. Of course, when you're writing, you're probably going to have some here and there, but as a general rule, try and stick to either a single or a plural for both categories and tags. And that's going to really help with avoiding duplication for SEO purposes. Now, how to optimize categories in WordPress for SEO. So I see many people disabling category and tag archives in the search results because they think that they're going to get penalized for duplicate content. Don't do that. So you should be allowing Google to search index for your archive pages for your categories and tags. So don't remove them from your search engine indexing. So by default, your archive pages for tags and categories, they have a unique canonical URL. So that's the slug that we saw in those slides at the very, very beginning. Now, the default is /category and then the category name, or /tag and then the tag name. And that's very, very different from the single post. So the actual post articles, it's different. They have a different canonical URL. So your archives, your categories, and your tags, the URL that's being displayed when you see all those posts by category or by tag is different to the actual post when they click through. So please don't disable category and tag archives from your search results. It's a great way for Google to be able to index all your content within that. For that. And the category page itself is not duplicate content, and Google understands that. It understands it's a different URL and that the content within that is embedded because it's got different URL links to that specific content as well. So these archives, they are super critical for your SEO, and they act as major landing pages for Google to index and navigate through your site. So don't get rid of them from your search results. And it's especially true for post content, likely to expire or change. So think about if you've got a WooCommerce shop, for example, you've got products that sometimes are out of stock, products that are sometimes temporarily and you don't get them back in. They're changing all the time, but your category, your product archive, does not. It's like a single landing page. The URL is still the same. So it's a good landing page. It's a good cornerstone landing page for Google to know exactly what's in your site, and it doesn't change all that much. So very, very important for SEO for those. Okay, so category and tag descriptions for SEO. So Danny, this is getting into what you were asking for the description for the tags and categories. So if I closer look at this, so this is one of the categories in edit mode, and we can see we've got our name, we've got our slug here, we've got the parent category for this. Now, when you're creating archive pages, they can be a bit boring and a bit unloved, but you need to be adding a short keyword-focused introductory description, each category and tag. And that's going to help boost your SEO for those particular archive landing pages. So here we've got the sci-fi one, and what I've done in here for the description, I know it might be a bit small, you might not be able to see that, but I've got a little bit of a description here. It says, are you a sci-fi book fanatic? Oh, well, you're in the right place. And here you'll find my awesome write-ups for the best sci-fi books ever. And then we've got a little link down here that says, read my reviews of my top 3 sci-fi books of 2021. And I've got links to posts here. And what that is doing is, by adding to the description, you're adding more keywords to the archive page. And you're also adding some top links as well. So when Google and when people are looking at this page, not only have got just the list of articles in there, you're also redirecting them to somewhere to go. And that's going to reduce your bounce out rate as well. So that's really, really good for that. So make sure you add a description, and you can add stuff like this, add links as well. And that's really navigating people. It's giving them somewhere to go. And here's an example. So Danny, you were asking how it is displayed on the site. So this is not a WordPress default. And this is actually a Beaver Builder, I think. So my old website's in Beaver Builder still. So this is what I've done is here. I've got the category archive at the top as a breadcrumb. I'll make it a little bit bigger. There we go. And then I'm bringing in the category name for here. And then right underneath the name, I'm bringing in the category description. And then we've got the template for the category archive for e-commerce. It's going to show all the posts associated with that particular category. Now, the WordPress default is going to look very, very similar to that. You might not have breadcrumbs, but it will display, it'll probably have archive, then a semicolon, and then the category name. And then right underneath that, so if you're using like a 20-something template, then you're going to see this description right underneath the category name there. And this is where it really makes a world of difference to your SEO, because all these, this description, it's going to be filled with keywords that you want to rank for SEO. And when people are dropping on this as a landing page, then you're actually specifically telling them, look, these are my top articles. Go here, go here, go here. Rather than just let them kind of browse through and have a look and see what's there and go, well, maybe actually those are not of particular interest. Because, if your archive is from newest to oldest content, then maybe the top articles aren't showing in that particular first page. And that's why it's important to put them up there in the description. So you want to link to those popular ones to kind of boost your popularity, keep people looking at the website as well. So hopefully, Danny, that's answered your question as to how does the description display on the site. It's usually, in most templates, right underneath that archive category name or tag name for that. Let's see, some other ones. The May says he uses content views. Yep, content views pro. I use that on a couple of client websites as well that haven't got the page builder on there. So it's driven by categories. Categories are bizarrely named to be meaningful to content views. Okay. What does that do for the SEO? So categories are bizarrely named to be meaningful to content views. HP1 times 1. What does that do for SEO? Well, if it's renaming your URL slugs to that, then I'd be a bit worried about that. I'd be going into the configuration somewhere and change those back to what WordPress defaults or to what is kind of more friendly permalink structure. Yeah, that's not very friendly. HP1 times 1. I had no idea from a keyword point of view what that does. And he says, therefore, each post has at least 2 categories, one for CVP and one to trigger navigation. Yep, that doesn't sound like a very good idea to me. I'd probably be looking up some tutorials on how to change that, or maybe getting back to the plugin authors and ask them kind of what's going on. It doesn't sound like a very SEO-friendly method for doing that, the Maze. Thanks for highlighting that. Okay, so I think this is getting towards the end. Yep, last slide. For this particular topic, and it's just touching on custom taxonomies. Now, just like custom post types, I won't make it so big. Just like custom post types, WordPress allows you to create custom taxonomies. And if you don't know what custom post types are, you don't know what custom taxonomies, that's okay. So, for example, WordPress default comes with posts and it comes with pages, and those are post types. And posts, they come with categories and tags and taxonomies, but you can create whatever post you like. So you could create, for example, a book post type for that. And then you can apply a custom taxonomy, maybe called topics. I'm thinking those topics, you can have terms like astronomy, kids, sci-fi, cooking, anything you like. So it's like having tags, it's like having categories, but you're just renaming them and repurposing those as well. So this allows you and your website visitors to really easily find and sort, for example, the books that you need. Because it wouldn't be a good fit maybe to have tags or categories, but it would be a good fit to have topics or books. Now you can choose whether or not to make your custom taxonomy structure flat, like tags, or hierarchical like categories as well. But it's the great thing about WordPress, it is so flexible, so you can create your own post types and you can create your own custom taxonomies as well to really get specific with your visitors. Now, an excellent plugin for creating post types and custom taxonomies is Pods. You might not have ever heard of this one before, but it's really, really popular. So to create custom post types, to create custom taxonomies, you need quite a lot of kind of coding in the background. Whereas this plugin, it does it all simply from the user interface. So it's a fantastic one. I've used this on clients' websites. I know that a lot of other WordPress developers or maybe designers who are not like developers use this particular a plugin to create your custom post types and to create custom taxonomies as well. And you don't need to create a new custom post type. You don't need to create a book post type to create a custom taxonomy. You can create a new taxonomy if you want to add it onto posts. So if tags and categories are not relevant to your posts, you can create a new one, whatever you want to do for those. Okay. So taxonomies are fantastic for navigation. They're fantastic for a search tool as well. For your website, make the most of the default categories, tags, and categories that come with WordPress. Make sure that you use them properly, and make sure that you use the archive pages as well to add descriptions. Make sure you got your keywords in there and link out to your top content or the content you want to promote. Kind of a little bit of additional SEO juice for that. And don't forget, just to make sure that your SEO is correct across all your posts and taxonomies as well. So you guys, that's it for today. If you've got any more questions, you can drop them down in the iPad. I'm having a look at the iPad at the moment. Drop them down in the comments. I'll see if any are coming through and I can quickly answer those. Otherwise, I'll jump through some of these. Keep pouring in topics. I'm always looking for new topics for the WordPress quickies. I'll do a link for that. I've got a quick question here. Andrew's asking, is it good practice to have a category in the permalink? For example, site, category, post. Not for everything. Personally, I don't like that. I know a lot of people do, but I think because the default WordPress comes with categories and it has a /category with the category archive name, I think Google might get a little bit confused if you start using that as like a default site address. So for everything, it's like /category and then /post. No, that already kind of comes with WordPress with the category thing, with the category taxonomy and archive. So I probably wouldn't go down that route of changing the site permalinks to use a category in there, because there might be some cases where you don't want category in there. So for example, landing pages are not going to have a category. Your about page isn't going to have a category. Content isn't going to have a category for that. So I would generally avoid that and just have your URL to have like the post title in there. That's kind of the default version for that. But good question to ask. A quick shout out for WP Australia. So visit wpaustralia.org and it shows you what meetups that we're doing throughout Australia. And also there's a button how to join us on Slack. And here's Slack. So it's a little chat here. So you get to know people and what they're doing. You can ask questions. You can answer questions as well, if you know for stuff for that. A quick shout out to my WOSG. You can have a look at that in your own time. And look, guys, I'm happy to connect with you. These days, I am mostly on LinkedIn under Developer Will, sometimes on Instagram as well, WillBrown_AU, and on Twitter as well for some rants. Is this a question here? Let's just see. Greg's asking, are custom taxonomies created in the pods plugin restricted to the custom post types, or do they apply to pages and posts as well? Great question. So if you have pods, you can apply a new custom taxonomy to your posts, to your pages as well. So it doesn't have to be to a custom post type. You can apply them to the existing posts and pages within WordPress. You certainly can. Joey J says, Tag Cloud is not a thing anymore. I often used to see in the sidebar or footer. Yeah, Tag Cloud seems to have, they got rid of that. I don't know why. Who knows? But I'm sure you can find it in Elementor. I'm sure you can find it in Beaver Builder. I'm sure there's a Gutenberg blog for a Tag Cloud up there somewhere. Okay, so the big monthly evening meetup for WordPress Sydney this month is on September the 27th, and I'm going to be talking about how to run WordPress on your local machine for design and development using the product called Loco, and that's from a hosting company, Flywheel. So if that's of interest to you, you can join me on the last Monday of the month, September the 27th at 6 p.m. Sydney time. And next week, I am doing a Zoom call. So I want to see all your lovely faces. So I'm just going to do a general Q&A. And so bring your WordPress related questions. I'll try and answer them as well, or we'll get other people to answer them. And I just have like a general afternoon Q&A, very, very casual chat with each other. That'll be great. Okay, guys, take care, keep safe, and I will see you next week for this Zoom chat. Okay, see you then. Bye.